It's Two on the Aisle with me, Charles Gross, and Leslie Hoban Blake. Tonight, reviews of Inner Voices, The Book of Merman, Final Follies, and Fireflies. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Two on the Aisle. Hello again, Leslie.
Good evening, Charlie.
We have some fun shows to review tonight.
Yeah. Well, some fun shows, yeah. Some fun, more fun than others, but
Okay.
some fun, yes.
All right.
I guess I'm going to start.
Inner Voices.
We also have, for the first time ever that I know of, 2 sets of 3 plays each on the same evening.
Okay.
One's a set of musicals, which is Inner Voices, which I'm going to talk about first.
Right.
And this was at the Barrow Street Theater, but I don't think it's produced by the Barrow Street people. It's called Premieres.
And it actually wasn't, that theater isn't even on Barrow Street.
Anymore, that's gone now. It's the Barrow Street
like the
people
Second
use
Avenue
that.
Deli and
Yeah,
Madison
right,
Square
exactly,
Garden.
exactly. But these are 3 one-act musicals, which is something you don't come across very often. And they're chamber pieces. They're small.
They're kind of musical monologues.
Well, yes, and they're chamber pieces. I mean, they take place in and they're all roughly a half an hour, 35 minutes, something like that. And they're not equally good. And unfortunately, the one I thought I really wanted to see the most was the one I liked the least. But we'll start with them in order. Okay. And so the first one was called Window Treatment by Deborah Zoloffer, and it starred Farrah Alvin as a slightly crazed woman with a pair of binoculars who looks out the window.
Who's also a medical doctor.
Yes, a medical doctor, as opposed to any other kind of doctor. And she looks out the window with her binoculars, and she's got somebody across the way. She knows his apartment number. She's madly in love with him. He's portly and balding, but she thinks he's heaven on earth. And she watches him. She watches him go down the street, and she sings about it. There he goes down the street, blah, blah, blah. And it's very cute.
Yes.
Until she gets really crazed, and then it's like not so cute anymore. And then she discovers that there's another person watching, and she looks out the window and she sees somebody else with binoculars looking at him, and she gets nuts over that and starts singing against that person. Put the binoculars down. How can you do that? What kind of person would do that?
Well, I think that person is looking at her.
Yep. Well, whatever it is, I thought she was also looking at the guy. No, the point is she was also following the guy.
You ever see Bells Are Ringing where it's about a telephone operator, remember those?
Yeah, I know Bells Are Ringing.
Who's in love with a man who she's never met, but she knows him only for his voice. This takes it a whole step further.
Well, much further, because this is a crazy woman watching somebody that she's never met. Specifically, the other woman talked to him on the phone.
Right.
This is somebody who just watches through a window.
Right. But Farrah Alvin, and she says, I should meet him, and I will, but I won't. She would have fit in very nicely.
It's a cat lady who's lived alone for too long.
Man cometh. But the thing is, she's a younger woman.
Well, doctor. I mean, she's a medical doctor, as you
said. She's a smart woman. She's a younger woman. And Farrah Alvin just gives such a wonderful performance that
you think
she may be crazy, but you kind of fall in love with her anyway.
Well, yes, you do. But I think to myself, and then again, there's On a Clear Day. There's a similarity to On a Clear Day in a way. But I think it's something about living in the city and living alone, and maybe that's something that Deborah has zeroed in on. It's directed by Portia Krieger, and the music is by Daniel Green. It was a good little play, and it was better than just a monologue because there was a lot of action in it, even though it was being described. Right. So that was number 1. Mm-hmm. Number 2 is the costume, which Daniel Zaitchik, words and music, directed by Noah Himmelstein, starring Finn Douglas. I would take Finn Douglas home with me and keep him in my house because he's 10 years old. He plays this character all the way through. It's a wonderful performance. It's not a child performer. He's an actor. He really has moments.
His character, he is dealing with a pigeon who's been hurt and trying to heal the pigeon. At the same time, dealing with his mother who was prone to quote-unquote spells.
Yes, but he's also...
And it's Halloween.
It is Halloween, and he wants a costume. And then we find out...
His father is no longer with them.
And then we find out the deeper significance of the bird.
Yes.
And this is about redemption. This child is redeemed by the truth and kindness. He is redeemed. And you know, there's so little redemption in this world with all that's going on that I just felt so warm. And then he was so fantastic that I credit the director. It's very hard to direct children.
Yes.
And if you get on the same wavelength and you can find some, they don't act, they just are, and he was.
Yes.
He wasn't acting. That was, I got interrupted when I was saying that, but he wasn't acting. By the way, it's 1954, a much more innocent time. He's wearing little cowboy pajamas, and you know, he's got a little room with a globe and the things, you know, that kids don't have anymore in their rooms, I don't think. I think rooms are much more modernized and they all have little devices.
I guess, you know, how maybe people were more naive. Whether was it a simpler time, I'm not so sure.
Oh,
but
those were the Eisenhower days, I think. 54 maybe was Eisenhower. Was that? I'm not sure.
I believe that was part of Eisenhower.
I think that was Eisenhower, and that's always talked about as the 50s and, you know,
Right.
innocent time. But anyway, be that as it may.
And then there's the third, which was really the one we were.
It's fine to talk about. You can come in and talk after I say scaffolding. This is the one that I wanted to see so much because this starred Rebecca Luker, who both of us love. We adore Rebecca. We adore her husband, Danny Burstein. And it was written by Jeff Blumenkrantz, who's an actor, a comic actor. We last saw him in.
And
I'm gonna lose
And
this.
of the three, this one felt the most like a musical because the music was the most varied. The numbers, you could kind of tell. The others seemed to be continuing. I know they weren't, but they seemed to be. This one, there seemed to be a change in the numbers. And tell us a little about the story.
Well, the story is about a mother with a very special child, but in the opposite way that one usually thinks. He's very, very smart, and he wants her to leave him alone. He wants she's a smother mother, as they say, and she's trying to be, and she doesn't want to be, and she only wants to help. And you feel for her, but you also feel for the kid. And he's
Who we never
applying.
see.
We
It's a
never
solo
see.
show.
And he's applying to. They're all solo shows, and he's applying to a college, and she's not sure that that's the right
MIT.
college.
No,
MIT.
she's sure, and she wants him to
And
get
she
in.
does something she shouldn't do to try to make it happen for him.
Right.
And he finds out, and he gets to go anyway, but he
No,
cuts
doesn't.
himself.
He doesn't get into. He wants to get into MIT. It's his lifelong
On his own.
dream, and she inadvertently trips him up.
Okay. And he cuts her off. And that's where she's at. Will I ever talk to him again? Will he ever talk to me? Yes, he'll talk to me. I don't know if he'll talk to me again. And the thing is that although Jeff's music was more melodic in the musical comedy sense, the others were more the way you have recitative in opera. They just continued, and the music
Yes,
didn't have that. But this was like a show tune thing. But the story didn't. I don't know if it's the story. I don't know if it's the direction. And this was directed by Tony winner Victoria Clark, who you remember there was the mother in Light in the Piazza. I mean, and she's an opera singer, so she really knows her way around this stuff. I think it was in the writing. I don't think it was. Yeah, and I think it's in the writing. I don't think it was.
What you're trying to say.
Yes, and sadly so, because it was the one we were looking forward to the most.
Yes.
So, you know, I know what I would give it. I don't know what you would give it.
Well, I think the first one should get 4, maybe 4.5 for what it is.
Yes.
Second should get 4. The third probably 3.
I would disagree with you, and I would switch them. I would give 4 to the first. I would give. You said 4 and 4.5. I would give 4 to the first one.
No, 4.5 to the first one.
Okay, and I would give 4 to the first one. I would give 4.5 to the second one,
Okay.
and I would agree with you with 3 on the third one.
Right.
So that's where we are on that. But interesting concept, something we haven't seen before. Always interested in stuff we haven't seen before.
Now.
Now.
The Book of Merman. And I actually shouldn't be using that tune, but let me put it to you this way. If you can't get into the Book of Mormon,
Don't go to the Book
or
of Merman.
if you just don't have the money to spend on the Book of Mormon, well, the Book of Merman pretty much covers a lot of the same ground. So this is a book by Leo Schwartz and D.C. Cathro, music and lyrics by Leo Schwartz, and it concerns these two Mormon elders knocking on
Missionaries,
doors,
yes.
missionaries, and they knock on the door of this woman who is Ethel Merman. I mean, her name is Ethel Merman. She looks like Ethel Merman. She sings like Ethel Merman, but there's a problem because this takes place in the present, and Ethel Merman's been dead for quite some time. So we have
A conundrum.
few-
It's called a conundrum.
It's called,
yes.
and it's called questions. And I have to say, and basically, it turns out one of the guys is a Merman fan.
He just happens to have the Merman's biography in his bag.
Right.
I own a copy. I should have brought it tonight and shown it to you.
Right, and the Mormons are played by Chad Burris and Kyle Ash Wilkinson. Ethel, they don't call her Ethel Merman, they call her Ethel, is played by Carly Sokolov. And I have to say that Leo Schwartz, as a lyric writer, is one of the cleverest lyric writers I have seen in the theater this season.
Wow.
Admittedly, given what I've seen, we're talking about a season that included Pretty Woman. Maybe that's not
Which
safe.
Charlie is still going to try to rewrite the music for them. He just needs a couple of weeks, the lyrics, yes.
You know, but it's very clever. However, he is this close to being sued because he basically spoofs a lot of Merman songs. Original music, but very close to songs that from Anything Goes or from Gypsy or from, the Merman song.
The Merc songbook, yeah.
And what they do is essentially what the Book of Mormon does, because the Book of Mormon is also, well, they spoof the from the King and I, the Small Book of Uncle Thomas. So
The Small House.
the
of
small,
Uncle
excuse me, the
Thomas.
Small House of Uncle Thomas. So it's kind of a mini Book of Mormon, which is a spoof, but just so clever, if not a little silly at times.
I have a problem with it, though, and here's the problem. The young lady who plays Merman, while adequate, to me, this called out for a man in drag to play Merman. I don't know why. I've seen a lot of cabaret acts. Clea Blackhurst played Merman, a woman, in cabaret for many years, and actually had her voice and her look. This woman doesn't quite. She's larger than Merman was, so it's difficult to really see her as Merman. And her voice isn't quite as cutting glass as Merman's was.
Right.
So it doesn't quite land for me. The kids are wonderful. The two missionaries are wonderful. She's adequate, but if they could get someone like Clea Blackhurst or a guy who could sing it, I would think that this would be a hit. As it is now, it was okay. And I had a pleasant enough evening. I wished for more. Because when I saw the title of this, The Book of Merman on a subway stop, I fell over laughing. Just the title made me laugh. Right. So I just wish that the show had lived up to that for me.
Again, in many ways, I thought it reached its goal better than the Book of Mormon. I don't agree that you need a male Ethel.
No, I didn't say that. I said I would have preferred,
You said you would have preferred a drag queen.
Did I use those words, or did I say a man playing the role?
A man playing the role, but
okay.
I think that's kind of the insinuation.
But I didn't want to use that phrase. We're being very
not
PC.
PC
I don't know. But the point is, but Harvey's allowed to use it because he is. Here's the point. I don't say it should have been a man. I say it should have been someone who was more Merman-esque, or someone who was so totally not that it wouldn't have mattered. But this fell right in the middle. And that was the thing that bothered me. It was a casting issue. I think that the piece itself was funny, and I think if that piece had been there, and that's what came to me was a guy doing it. I thought at first it was a guy. That was the problem.
Sorry, Carly.
It's,
all right. Well, it's okay. There is
difference of opinion.
Yeah, there is. You do have a. I will say you have a point. And how will you rank it?
Oh, 3.5.
I go 3.75.
Okay. Well, I know you liked it better than I did.
Yes,
so.
I had a very good time with that.
So now the next piece here is the second set of 3 plays. And it's the final work, literally the final work of the late A.R. Gurney, otherwise known as Pete.
Right.
Directed by David. Primary Stages. Directed 3 one-act plays directed by David Saint. And the play called Final Follies is the last play that he ever wrote. It was a short play. The people at Primary Stages decided to go back and find some earlier pieces and put them together. That I don't know what a good idea that was, because the first play was The Rape of Bunny Stunts. Now, it's really hard to do a
Second
play. No, that was the first play that he wrote.
First play.
That's in 1965. I'm sorry, I should have been clearer. And I don't know that. I mean, in 1965, you could write something like that, and nobody would think twice about it. Now, it kind of rings bells and whistles come out because of the word rape. You don't expect a play to be amusing or to try to be amusing about a subject like rape at this point in time.
Right.
But that's what this play tries to do.
Was this woman actually?
Well, we don't know, but the play is called The Rape of Bunny Stunts. Right. And the word rape has many meanings. It could be a real, it could be a not real, it could be imagined. But right now, the thing with I'm trying to think of where I was. It's Deborah Rush.
This is
Deborah Rush is the actress who plays the role.
Who we love, and she's giving a speech for, a club, kind of like a Rotary type club.
We're not sure what the club is, but okay.
But it's that
genre.
Again, we're talking about A.R. Gurney, all right? This man
it's a bunch of Protestants. Yes, it's a bunch of Protestants
his forte.
Wops are him. Yes.
Wasps, not
wasps. Did I say wops? I said wasps. No, I did not. Right. I lisped. But this is a 53-year-old play, and it was produced by Edward Albee. And I think it was influenced by Albee. I think it had the same kind of feeling that A Delicate Balance did, where you're not sure what the thread is. You don't know what the outside thread is, but it's talked about.
All I will say is, this is his first play. He got better.
Yes. Yes, I agree with you. And then the third play was called Love Course, which I think was the most amusing of the three. But it had
about two teachers giving their final lecture and
about erotic literature. Famous erotic literature, things like Wuthering Heights, which they consider to be erotic. And they read the pieces back and forth in what they consider to be an erotic manner. And it's Betsy Adam, who was in the first play, and Peter Marek.
And Betsy Adam is not in the first play.
Oh, I thought she was.
Colin Hanlon, who's in the first
Okay, well, it's Betsy Adam and Peter Marek and in this particular play.
Right.
And anyway, they... I found it amusing. I knew the works. I knew all the pieces of literature. I had not necessarily considered them to be erotic in the way that they mean erotic.
Well, again, understand one of the professors is having a meltdown.
Well, yes.
This is happening.
Yes.
They apparently had a romance, and it's over, and she's leaving, and it's a bit of a mess, and it gets a bit silly.
But that was also an old play, written in 1969. See, these plays are not
again,
up to...
I will say he got better.
Yeah.
And that shows in Final Follies, which I consider to be a work in progress. And obviously, it will never go anywhere
I know.
there. And I found it actually a little timely. It's about a man who's had all the privileges. He's a wasp because, well, this is a Gurney play. And he's had all the privileges. His family has money.
His grandfather is played by Greg Mullavey, who was on Mary Hartman.
Who I thought would have been a lot more stereotypical. He's a major industrialist, rich, made his money, and he plays very much against type. I think the play is the better for it. But the bottom line is, this man who is basically admits he's a failure
at everything else that he's tried.
Right.
Suddenly finds...
Squarely blames himself for his failures.
Yes, but he finds himself.
Yes.
In the worst place possible.
Yes, and he's trying to be an actor, and it turns out he's auditioning for a pornographic movie. And the only thing that we see of the studio is the receptionist, who's a former actress, but she's retired, Rachel Nix, who is not a wasp, so that's... I think the only non-wasp in the cast, that we see in the evening, pretty much.
I wouldn't know what any of them are. How would you know that she's not a wasp?
Well, certainly her character is not.
I see. Okay.
And she doesn't.
She doesn't play a wasp. I see what you're saying.
She neither plays nor looks.
I understand. I misunderstood what you were saying.
Yes.
That's okay.
Fits the physical stereotype of a wasp.
Got you. Okay.
Anyway, well, never mind. Anyway, so he decides to be a pornographic actor, And he finds himself he's very good at.
Yes, he found something he's good at. Unfortunately, that's
Yes.
it's porn.
And there are the reactions of his brother and his grandfather, and it's all actually very, very amusing, and it's funny. And of the play, this is by far the best.
Yeah.
And I think
It was the last.
yes, and I think had Gurney been around to polish it up and to edit it, it really would have been something very
But it's
special.
still a short play.
Yes.
It's still a one-act play.
Yes.
And you only can do one-act plays in an evening of other one-act plays. You know,
Right.
that's the way life is.
Right, and I think to me it's a shame that they couldn't
So,
find.
so what would you give this? Because you have another piece coming up.
Oh boy. Well, I would
Aggregated,
give this
aggregated,
a 4
okay.
minus.
Okay.
Because
4 minus? That's a new one. I never heard that
because
before.
It's because
Is that 3.9
I'm
or something?
anticipating what it could have been
Okay.
had the playwright been able to finish
never-
it
well,
for
okay.
final Follies.
Okay.
The Rape of Bunny Stunts I will give 2. That's only because I've loved Deborah Rush so much over the years, even though I was
You
not
wouldn't give her anything else. Is
impressed
that what you're
with
saying? Yeah.
pretty much anything in this play. It's just always nice to see her
Yeah,
on stage.
okay.
The Love Chorus, I would give 3.5.
Okay, so I would give Final Follies 3.5. Give The Rape of Bunny Stunts, God, I don't know. I just like that piece intensely. 1.5. I like Deborah Rush as well as anybody, but the piece, it's the piece and the last one I would give 2.5.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, it was not a good evening for me, and
No.
I'm sorry
My
because
suggestion, if you want to do an evening of Gurney, do Love Letters and then add Final Follies as a bonus.
Well, that might be interesting. That might be very interesting. They don't have anything to do with each other. The love
Except
course
that they
would
were
have.
written by
yes, no, but the love course would have more to do with it's a 2-character, but actually
it's
the love
not.
course
There are
is
more
4 characters. Yeah,
so
you're right. You're
the
right.
answer is these plays have nothing in common except
They were written by
their
Gurney.
author.
Yes.
Okay. Well, this is Fireflies, and I don't have the playbook.
You do. It's right here.
Okay, this is Fireflies, and the last show we talked about India Pale Ale, which, among other things, dealt with an Indian house of worship in America being attacked.
A Punjabi
Right.
place
and
of worship.
It's kind of sad because I saw this play the night that I found out about shooting
Pittsburgh. Oh.
Pittsburgh Temple, Tree of Life.
And I didn't get to go to it again. I was ill.
And this takes place back in 1963, and I quote, "somewhere down south where the sky is on fire."
Ooh.
And it takes place during the Civil Rights Movement.
Oh.
The cast, it's a 2-person cast, a married couple, a Martin Luther King-like preacher, played by Chris Davis, and his wife, pregnant wife, I should say, played by Dewada Weiss. And as you may imagine, a black church has been bombed.
Oh.
Boy, things haven't changed in 50 years, and it's sad. And he, of course, will have to speak, and he's being called upon, and she really doesn't want him to leave again. But the play, and so obviously this is a major part of the play, but also their relationship. The fact that she hears bombing noises in her head, and she sees fireflies in her dreams, and these fireflies at one point are the souls of the people who have been lost. And it is it's timely, certainly. And it's a good topic, but it's not as full. I mean, yes, it's a timely topic, but what is it saying that we haven't heard before? How does the playwright make it original? And I think the playwright realizes the problem is his idea to fill the 90 minutes.
It's her. It's a female.
I'm sorry.
It's a woman.
Danja Our Love, directed by Sahim Ali, my apologies. And her solution is to add lesbianism, infidelity, spousal abuse.
Oh, wait, there are only
abortion.
2 characters.
What?
So there are only 2 characters.
Yes.
So where does that all come from?
Well, he has been unfaithful to her.
With a lesbian?
Well,
Just
no,
asking.
she.
Oh, the wife has.
No, the wife has not, but she has these feelings. She does not want to keep the baby. And
So
he has I think on one occasion abused her. So, and again, so it goes off on all these tangents while not managing to give us enough of the original piece, which is, the racism, the violence of 1963 and his play and this man's place in it. There are also...
Is that something like the fact that in his own home he's violent toward her? Is that what you're
Yes.
saying? I see.
Yes,
Okay.
he is. And there are, and again, I compared him to
Martin Luther King.
and there is an FBI tape of his infidelity. So you can see where the playwright has
Yeah.
been inspired,
Yeah.
but not inspired enough to give us a full evening.
It's a shame because we saw Chris Davis in that play about the boxer, and he's really something.
Yes.
I've
Well,
forgotten the title of the play.
Both actors
But
are good. It's more DeWatta Weiss's play because she has more time there. But they both give excellent performances. They play well off of each other. It is nicely directed, and that makes the evening, I think, a lot more enjoyable than it deserves to be.
topic doesn't sound enjoyable, but
Well,
I know what
you
you're
know,
saying. I know what you're saying. It's satisfying.
Satisfying.
I guess,
That's an even better word. But ultimately, I would have loved to have give this more. But I'm only going to give it 3 playbills.
Okay. You make me really sad that I missed the plays that I missed. You really make me sorry that I missed them. I mean,
I think I
didn't
think,
fight hard enough to try to
I
get
think
in.
You would have had. I think you would have had some good things. Some good comments.
Well, thank you.
You'll
But
have to wait until next time.
yes,
Because that is our show for the evening. So when you go to the theater, look for Leslie and me, us too.
on the aisle.